Okay, let me go into the group. Go live. Hello. Hello, everyone. Good evening. How are you doing? Good evening. Please, if you're here with me, type in the comments. Let me know I am not alone. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Hello. Good evening. Hello. Please type in the comments. Say hi. If you're here with me, good evening. I can see some of you guys on Instagram. And let's see what's going on Facebook. My group. Hi, Facebook folks. Good evening. How you doing? If you're not on the group, Acquire Real Estate Investing, Acquire Real Estate Investing for Newbies. It's a group on Facebook of over 3,000 people. And it's a pretty, I'll call it close knit because I pretty much know a bunch of people in there. And they're able to reach out to me at any time. So, yes, join that group because it just has this community way of life on there. So, good evening. How are you all doing? Welcome to this live session. I'm also trying to set up on my end, and so you can see me looking downwards a few times. Please, if you're here,
So good evening.
sorry. Okay, Margaret, say hi, Margaret. Hi, Meg. Good evening. How you doing? Okay, we didn't do a lot of announcements for this live. Like we didn't send out the emails and stuff, but that's okay. And it would just be a quick, intimate one. Hopefully, how you doing? All right, we are live. Please, if you're here with me, kindly type in the comments your name, where you're from, what state you're from. It's been a little bit. I have been very busy, like some of you guys have been as well. And so, anytime we have an opportunity like this to chat is great. I don't take it for granted. So, please tell me if you're here with us. And yeah, let's get a discussion going. All right. Let's see. Maybe, Meg, do you think we should wait a minute more or just kick it off from here? Let me know if we should get things started. Okay. Okay, so yeah, and just in the spirit of chatting, we just concluded our summit for 2025. It was amazing. Very, very, very engaging, very beautiful. We had people come over to Connecticut from out of states, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Texas, Maryland, pretty much name it. And we did property tours, we did an award nights, we did workshops. It was a great event. And I think the biggest part is putting a footing, more like a foundation on what you're doing as a real estate investor. Why are you doing all of this? At the end of the day, what does that mean for you tax wise? What if you have another job? What are you doing to actually create that generational wealth? Because you're saying generational, but are you really making it generational? Or are you going to run into trouble when you need that succession to happen, right? So there is a lot that goes into the summit, and that networking, coming together, putting faces to the names that we see virtually all the time, makes it on a different level, just gives you a different level of experience and value. So yes, hey Nadia, welcome. How are you doing? Okay, let me know, Meg. Meg says I think should wait a little bit more. So, anyways, I'm doing some intro, and hopefully that should work. That way, we make the best use of the time we have. Good evening. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like my coaching students could have actually maybe made sense out of this live as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's okay if anyone wants to join. I know I was telling Meg earlier, this is not for coaching students. This is actually for everybody. But yes, it makes a lot of sense, and I think you're going to get a lot of value from this meeting. Okay, and I guess Meg is just going ahead to tag, even though I didn't post earlier, so maybe you can figure out who to tag. Sorry, I didn't do the right setup for this live for you, Meg, to be able to work on, but it's okay. We're getting back after a long break, so here we are right now, and warm greetings to you all. So here, if you've ever thought about investing in real estate or had a look, just type something in the questions in the comments about real estate investing. What exactly are you looking to get from real estate investing? What exactly are you looking to get from real estate investing? Okay. And the question many people are asking is, what is real estate investing all about? If you've already gotten your feet wet in the world of real estate investing, you feel like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. But there are a lot of people out there that have no clue what we're doing in real estate investing. Do you really own all these properties as you claim? Or are you just like an agent representing people and getting commissions? How are you able to buy properties? This is something that the rich should be able to afford and not a regular person, right? A rich person, extremely rich person, would be able to buy a couple of properties, but it's not the scenario. So that makes a lot of people doubt the process as to, well, maybe not the process, but more of the concept of buying properties even when you don't have money, right? So it's not a dumb question when you're asking what real estate investing is all about, because it almost looks like there is basically hardly any requirements except the knowledge base, maybe, right? So yes, it's not a dumb question, and it's actually the right question to start with. What is real estate investing all about? So it's not about the hypes you see online. Oh, I have this mansion, uh I built a property for my parents, or I did this, I did that. There are a lot of success stories or hypes on the internet, but it's really hard to know what exactly happened. How did you get there? How did you get so rich? How did you get all those properties? So tonight is about clarity, and it's about truth. It's about being clear about really where you stand. If you had any interest in real estate investing whatsoever, where you stand and what exactly is realistic. What is the truth about real estate investing? So tonight we're talking about what the truth is. Hello, Jania. Greetings to you. She says, I'm looking to learn about fixing flip and buying properties without money. And that makes a lot of sense. Yes. And like she's saying, if we had to define real estate investing simply, we'd say buying, controlling, or even, whatever you're doing, you're profiting from a property. It's for financial gain. It's not charity, right? It's not charity. It's actually for financial gain. And we always say if the number isn't making sense, then don't do the deal. Don't feel emotionally attached to the property. Don't say the property is so beautiful, I love it, but the numbers are not working. So what are you going to do about that? Right? Excuse me. My lips are a little bit dry. Right? So what are we going to do about it? If the numbers are not making sense, then it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We're not going to buy that property. Right? So you're buying, you're controlling assets, and by controlling we mean sometimes you don't own it outright, like in lease options, but you're controlling it. Yes, you can actually control a property and financially profit from it without owning it. Okay. So, like Jenna is saying, there are different forms of real estate investing. You can do things like fix and flip. And fix and flip is more buying for low and selling for high, right? And then you make the profits in the middle. And why is this possible? The first thing is because you're buying for a lower price and there's some margin when you go back to market value after repairs is done. The second thing is the repair process itself. When you do repairs on a property, it significantly increases the value of that property in such a way that you're able to have equity to even cash out of, right? So you can cash out of equity on a property. So fix and flip is a big one. There are times and seasons for fix and flips, so you got to be careful. And you have to make sure your numbers are right. And the other one is rentals. Rentals, whether you're doing long-term rentals like Section 8 or the regular rentals, traditional rentals that you're used to, or you're doing short-term rentals. Short-term rentals would be Airbnb, VRBO, and all of those good stuff there. So even midterm rentals with maybe nurses, travel nurses, maybe even with insurance companies. So there are different kinds of rentals, and all you're doing is to be able to make monthly cash flow. So when you have rentals, you're making monthly income from properties, whatever kind of activity you choose, whether you choose long term, whether you choose short term, whether you choose midterm, you're making monthly rental income. And the whole point is you want to, whether as a side gig, you want to have that additional income coming, or maybe you're looking at growing your income base from rentals to such a level that you don't need your 9 to 5 income anymore. And that's pretty good. It means that you're creating more time to work on your business, to grow your portfolio, and to grow bigger and stronger, which is not a bad thing. So after sacrificing so much time working for other people's company and doing what you're asked to do, now you can take time out and work for yourself and do what you really want to do for yourself, for your family, and your legacy. Okay. So that's the whole point of owning rentals. And the other thing some people do is wholesaling. And wholesaling is pretty beginner friendly. And I'll tell you the pros and cons. So wholesaling means that you're not actually buying the property, but you're more like someone who puts a contract on the property to buy, and you assign that contract to another person and you get a fee for doing that. And by fee, we mean thousands. So you're making thousands of dollars by finding the right properties with the right numbers. Okay. And for that, you need to understand the numbers so that your end buyer can buy. Because if your end buyer isn't buying, then you're not going to make money. And it means you calculate it wrong. So one thing you need to be aware of is know how to calculate or know the numbers on a property, right? The downside of wholesaling is that you need to continue to find properties. So your job is really finding on a daily basis. You got to find. If you're not finding properties, you cannot make money. That's wholesaling for you. If you're not finding properties, you cannot make money if you're wholesaling. Okay. And the other thing is, cash not refinance, we'll call it BRRRR, and I also call it, I personally call it rapid cycle, where you can put money into a property, you pull that money back out, the property continues to produce monthly income for you, right? So that is BRRRR. And then you can do partnerships with people, you can do joint ventures. Maybe someone has the knowledge and information, you partner up, you have the money, you're doing that deal. Or maybe you have the knowledge and information and you partner up with somebody else that has the money, and they're basically sponsoring the deal, and you guys are splitting your profit 50-50. Why would they sponsor the deal? Because their money is sitting down doing nothing. They'd rather get a bite of your cake, right, than nothing from that money sitting in the savings and hardly producing anything. So yes, there are people realistically who you are going to show those deals and you're going to fund it, right? So that's how partnerships work. You also have creative strategies, like we said, lease options. There are also things like subject to a lot of other stuff that we're not going to get into today, or even things like seller financing, right? So the whole point is you don't need to do everything. You just need the right strategy. Okay. You just need the right strategy for your goals. Now, the question would be, what is your goal? What exactly is your goal? So maybe you're thinking you want to do a side gig Maybe you have a full-time job right now, you want passive income, or maybe you want tax strategy because you make a lot of income, but when you're talking taxes, it's just a different ball game. Maybe you're falling into that middle class where it's it looks like you're making money, but you're not making money because everything goes into taxes and expenses, right? So the lower class are getting all these perks, they're getting free insurance, they get free food and free housing and all of that stuff. And you're working so hard and it looks like you're even at six figures, but it's hard to show that, which is a crazy place to be. And then you have, you know, definitely a higher income earner than middle class, right? Which is a way better place to be because for the most part, many times you're able to take advantage of different tax strategies. Okay, the way to really take advantage of tax different tax strategies and to save money on taxes is really to have that LLC, to have your business. Otherwise, you would be overpaying in taxes, you would be paying too much, and you would be the one who's working hard for the country. You're if you're middle class, you're basically the horse. You're basically the donkey of the system because that's just how the system was designed. So you have to really figure it out, not just building passive income on the side or income that's reliable afterwards, but really to think about how you have been accumulating. I won't call it wealth because if you don't work, it's not going to work. It's not going to, you're not going to get anything. But how have you been accumulating your income? Right? So you have to think about that. What can I do to make sure that I'm keeping more of the money that I am making? This is very sensitive and it's very important to take care of. Maybe you're thinking real estate investment can at some points be your full-time uh, job or be everything you do. Basically, you're no longer working 9 to 5, you're no longer an employee. Maybe you're even at that point where you employ people instead under your business. Extremely possible. I am an example. Within a year, I know I put in the work, I forced my way through, but it worked out, right? So if you had more than a year to do that, why not? You wouldn't have to stress out like I did, right? Why not? Right? If I could replace my 9 to 5 income in 1 year, then I'm sure you can do that regardless of how much effort I put in. If you had more time to build that legacy, I'm sure you can, right? So for some people, that's really where they're looking. However, other people really love what they're doing. They love their job. They're going to hang in there and they just really want to build something on the side and for the future, which makes a lot of sense. So you're going to ask yourself, what exactly is my goal? Where do I really want to go with real estate investing? Why choose real estate investing out of all the options that we have going on? There is Amazon drop shipping, there is e-commerce, maybe affiliates marketing, there are the multi-level marketing where you sell a product and all of that stuff. But sometimes you actually have to write down what you're doing. Why am I choosing real estate investing over all of this? What do I picture for my life and for my growth? Right. So at that point where you're full time into your business, you're putting in a full time energy. Yes, you determine when you work. However, it does the results show however much efforts you put into your business would definitely show in the future. Of course, your business is more forgiving than a 9 to 5, but the other thing with business is it's respects being smart. So if you're smart, you're not going to put in as much energy as you typically would because you're doing things more strategically. You're outsourcing things, you're focusing on systems, you're building teams, you're scaling. Okay. So at that point, full time, you're reinvesting some of your earnings to continue to grow your business. So all those parts are definitely right. Now, let's talk about the elephants in the room. realistic results, timelines. I know that my timeline may be too drastic. Like, how do you replace your entire 9 to 5 income in 1 year? I get it, right? So that might be more of an extreme, maybe. There are people who have done. Actually, I remember Eunice in our program, who a pharmacist as well, but she didn't quit her job. She continued to do her 9 to 5, and within a year, when we came for our coaching call, we were talking about her assets. And at the end of that call, we saw that she was at $4,000 monthly in income, and she already had accumulated $1 million in her portfolio within 1 year. But still working, right? Still reinvesting the profits. So everybody's goal is different. Everybody's strategy is different. So I can't tell you that you cannot do this in 1 year. You could, but you have to organize yourself. And if realistically for you and for where you stand right now with how much time you have, you're thinking 2 or 3 years, it makes sense, right? There's hardly any business that can give you that kind of financial freedom within a short period of time. But there are definitely things to do, and there's patience to have. Your first deal can happen within I mean, from 6 weeks upwards, realistically, a month, 6 weeks. My first deal happened in 6 months, right? A long time. But these days, it doesn't even have to take you that long, right? If you're following the right process, if you're following the right systems, you can definitely build a solid portfolio between 2 to 5 years. It's, you know what? I'm going to show you something right now. Consistency is the goal, not speed. So I'm going to share with you an Excel sheet that I created today, because I was trying to picture what happens when you invest in real estate. Like, how is this affecting your future? How is this contributing to your future? This sheet is actually fire. I verified the numbers. I'm like, this makes sense. So let's see if I can share my screen here. And I'm going to tell you what I have here in a moment. And I definitely have to share this with my coaching students. But I mean, at the end of this call, if you're commenting, if you're staying to the end and you comment, you're going to get this sheet for free. Okay, so here we are. And what we have here is, if you see a yellow, and you learn in coaching, when you see yellow, it means that you can touch it. If there's anything that's not yellow, don't touch it. That's our own rule. Okay, so yellow means you can touch. So here we're asking you, what is your yearly goal at retirement? Yearly income goal. How much do you want to make yearly? I don't know where you're at. I don't think a lot of people want to make 400K yearly as retirement. But if we reduce this to let's say 100,000 yearly, we don't know how much things are going to be, how expensive things are going to be at that time yet. But we can kind of just look at where things are at right now. And the good thing is, by the time you get there, properties, rents increase, everything really matches whatever is happening in that economy. And that's one good thing about real estate investing. You're not stagnant like in savings, where you put your money into savings and the value actually reduces over time. It depreciates instead of it to increase in value. There's this small increments that's not matching inflation. Good thing about real estate investing is that it does match inflation, so that even when things are more expensive, the level of income you're making rises up to that expectation. So for the expectation for today's world at 100K per year for a retiree is pretty decent, but you can also adjust it as you wish. Okay, so let's say that let's say what's the average property value in your area? If the average property value in your area is 250,000, put that in here. So this is adjustable, this is adjustable. So we're going to change this to, let's just say 200K. I think 250 is okay, but 200K, let's just say we're changing the numbers here. 200,000 per unit. In most markets, I think average in the US probably around 300K. So let's just say 300K. There are some markets that are significantly lower, and there are some that are actually higher than that. Like California is definitely higher, right? So how many years do you have left to retirement? So let's say you're in your 50s, you're in your 60s. Let's say you're in your 40s. I don't know how many years you have left to go, right, for retirement. So let's see. Um, let's say you are 10 years to retirement. 10 years to retirement at this time. 2025, you're 10 years to retirement. And then we have cash flow. So per property, let's say you're renting out your property right now, and $500 per month on a single family is not a bad thing. It's average. It's like okay. I mean, with the high interest rates, it's pretty average. Sometimes you get less than this, depending on the deal, depending on the room, and depending on how much interest rate you're paying on the mortgage. But let's just assume that you're at a $500 monthly income per property. Okay. Your retirement is in 10 years. You want to make 100K per month at retirement. What should you do right now? So it's saying right now, recommendation for this year is buy two properties. So two properties per year will get you to this 100K yearly at retirement. You got to buy two properties, two rental properties every year. Let's say your retirement income is double. Let's say 200,000 per year is what you want to make at retirement. Remember, you don't need to work or anything. You just have assets that are producing income for you. So 200K is what you want to make every year at retirement. And let's say property value, we're just not going to touch that, so we can make our points. But let's say you have only 5 years to retirement. How many properties do you need to buy per year? 7 properties. Is this possible? Of course it is. Let's say you went on the lower range. Let's say you went 200K, maybe smaller properties because you're like, oh, it's gonna be a lot of money or whatever. And you are gonna see, let's say we have less cash flow for some reason, 300 per month. So at this price point for property value, single family, you have 5 years to retirement. If your properties are only producing $300 in cash flow, you need 11 properties per year. You need 11 properties per year. And it kind of tells you how much equity you're building per property, right? So how much equity you have per property, right? At that point, per property. If you're doing 11 properties per year at 5 years, right? How much equity? This is a lot of money. Like you're making this. So we're saying 55 times 80,000 right now. I'm gonna calculate that. Let's see. Equals 55 times 80,000. That's 4 million, right? That's a lot of money in equity. So your net worth keeps increasing as you go. Even though you're only making 200K per year, your net worth is a lot more than that. Well, this is even actually very conservative, right? Because this has only factored that 3%, the initial 3%. So it compounds. So your net worth is definitely over 4 million at that point, definitely over that. Now, how long can you save from your job to be at 4 million in net worth at retirement? Okay, let's say we don't want to do so much. Let's say we're actually making more. Let's say 600. There are people who make $1,000 per property. There are people who make more. If you have an Airbnb, let's say you're at $2,000 per month per property. You only need 2 properties a year to be at 4 million at retirement and 200K yearly income. So you're not one of those people who are waiting for Social Security. Even if you only did 1 property a year, let's say you're so bad at this cash flow game and you're at 250, but your yearly retirement income is 100K. Let's say you have 10 years to retirement. You only need three properties a year. Even if like the properties didn't give you a lot of profit, it didn't do great. You only need three properties a year. Is this making sense? So you have to plan your life because the days by fast, the years go by fast. Before you know it, you're 45 years old, you're 50 years old, you're 55, you're 65, you're 75, and you're facing the real life at that point, maybe even from 65. And some people earlier, if you wanted to retire earlier and just mind your own business, do more productive work, then you got to come back on this calculator and see where you really need to be at. Where do you need to be at? Are you at your goal? Are you doing enough deals? Are you buying enough properties? Are you holding enough properties? Or you've just been flipping away, right? So this is actually very important. And at the end of this call, you're going to get a copy of this, but make sure you stay till the end so that you can have that shared with you, because at the end is when we collect the emails, or I mean the comments on people that actually want that whatever the resource for the day is. Okay. So it's important to work your way backwards. Imagine yourself, put yourself in the future, and just look back to where you are right now. So in the future, where should you be? And then you come back and start to work out that plan. And that sheet helps you to really just put things into perspective. Am I doing enough? Some people, I know some of my students do like six a year or more, right? Hopefully that doesn't make you feel like you're overdoing things. Hopefully it makes you feel happy that what you're doing is enough and is great, right? There's no harm in not only benefiting yourself at retirement, but also being beneficial to people around you, to your family, to your friends, to your loved ones, and still making impact at that age. So you can see where you're going and you can really see where things are at today, right? So very important. So you got to be consistent. There are hiccups on the way of real estate investing. For many people who are trying to get in, the first thing they think about is funding. But I would say that based on what we're seeing, like after someone is so worried about funding and the funding happens, if the deal doesn't make sense, it's not gonna go through, it's not gonna work. So now you're confused because okay, all of a sudden you have funding. Yesterday at our coaching call, people had mad money sitting. I mean, small money, from small money, $25,000 to 100K to 200K. People have money sitting, and more than that, right? It's not doing a lot. Well, money sitting doesn't really necessarily mean that it's their own money, right? It's money that they've learned to get to be able to invest. They go through their training on business credits, business loans, everything business, and they just have access to funds, right? And when we're talking no money down or no money out of pocket, those are the things we're talking about. And the reason why real estate investing is very newbie friendly, because the funding, you will come to realize, is not the most challenging part of real estate investing. The hurdle that you're going to need to cross is the deals, the right deals, making sure you're analyzing them correctly. And that's why you need to get help if you need help. Okay. Making sure your numbers are making sense, making sure you're not running into trouble because you're trying to make money, right? So that's very important, because you don't want a flip story. You really want it to be a success story where you've successfully installed one property, two properties, three properties, and more properties. Okay. So people are afraid of financial risks. People are afraid, and you should be afraid of financial risk. You should be afraid of miscalculating your repairs or overpaying on properties. Maybe you're paying too much in the beginning. I know people who, before coaching, they say, I paid so much on this property and now I gotta do something, right? So now you're already into a deal that's is crazy because it saps you of your joy, it saps you of, you know, your dreams. It's discouraging when you're in a deal that doesn't make sense because you were not able to calculate your numbers correctly because you thought everything was going to be okay, and then you run into problems, right? You run into repairs that you did not correctly calculate. You run into the fact that actually the property is not worth what you paid for it. Is a crazy place to be, but you can get out. People have gotten out, people have bounced back up and just rebuilt. We have such stories, right? But avoid it in the first place if you can, right? So don't DIY or don't YouTube Versity and try to just go to work based off of different forms of guidance in little pieces. Because when someone is giving you guidance, a quick guidance within an hour or what have you, and then you go to somebody else within an hour, quick guidance here and there, they haven't actually landed on their main points, and where they're picking up their structure from is different from where the other person picks up their structure from. So they haven't completely guided you through the entire process, and so you find that you have some information overwhelm. um you have too much going on, overload in your head, you can't even act. And a lot of people feel that way. So you need to go through that process step by step. A lot of people are very emotional about this. Maybe you are afraid, that fear of, oh my goodness. And I'm going to say this because I've seen even people in coaching being afraid, and what we always say is just do it regardless. It's like when you're trying to talk on stage. If you're someone that talks on stage here, let me know if you talk on stage. If you want to type that in the comments. You talk on stage and you people think maybe you're pro at it, right? But each time you're going on stage, you still have that chest beats going on. You have your heartbeat is loud. You're like, oh my goodness. And then you get over it as soon as you get started talking, right? It happens all the time. So the only way to overcome that is with practice, is with stepping out while you are afraid. Stepping out, making a step while you are afraid. There is no magic that can save you out of that situation except you step out while being afraid. Of course, with the right guidance, but while being afraid, because you don't have confidence in yourself yet. You feel like you don't know what you're doing yet. So the best thing is, while you're afraid, you step out. That analysis paralysis only keeps you in the same spot for so long, right? You get burned out just over analyzing everything. So you got to still step out. You got to still make offers. You got to still analyze deals. You got to still talk to people like someone that knows what they're doing, because you already have an idea what to do. You have, you know what the process is like from beginning to the end. No matter your years in real estate investing, no matter your experience, you're still going to come across deals that are different from things that you've experienced. So everybody's experience is different. Each deal is going to teach you something new. But if you don't step out of that fear, you're going to feel like stuck in one place for a very long time. If you went back to that sheet, if you were at 5 years of being stuck, that costs a lot of money. That's millions right there, millions of dollars being down the drain just because you're stuck for 5 years. So definitely ways to really overcome that fear would be to learn your numbers and definitely build a support network. Because the thing is, if you see other people doing it, people that you talk to, you chat with as a normal human being, you see them doing it, then you have this boost. You're sure that you can also do it. They talk to you as a normal human being, so you're sure that you can do it. If they can't do it, you can actually ask them questions around your fear. So you want to surround yourself with the right people, not people who tell you that you're going to lose your money, or people who have no clue how real estate investing works, but they feel like, oh, I've tried this business and that business and it turned out this way. And you're holding on to the experiences and making that define you as a person. and define your own future experience doesn't work. Yes, you can learn from other people's experience, but when you have that knowledge, you can actually compare what they're saying to what you know. So you're actually asking them the right questions. What did you do before you got this deal? Or before you went into this business? How did it turn out? So you learn from that, right? So everybody's experience helps you, but you are the only one that can make make the right decision for yourself as to how to digest that information. Are you gonna overanalyze and feel that paralysis and not do anything, or are you gonna add that to your knowledge base and of things to avoid and launch, right? So definitely get mentorship, get guidance. It's very important. If there are any questions on this live session, I'm going to take them. I'm going to be patient. And I'm still going to share that resource. And Meg is here as well, who's going to make sure you get your resource. And your resource will be your real estate investing planning sheets, which is very crucial. I also would go back into it and see where I am at and assess my journey as well. So if you have any questions, please type in the comments. What's holding you back from your first deal? What's holding you back from real estate investing? We talked about funding, which is a big one for many people. We talked about what is real estate investing really about? Like, what should be your goal? Should it be long term? Should it be short term? Should it be a side gig? Or should it be more of something that you're doing full time? Right? So those are things that we've covered to define your goal, to make sure you're defining your goal, to make sure you understand the strategies and understand your numbers and manage your risks with education, definitely, and guidance. If you don't have education, please don't go make an offer on a property because you don't know. You don't know. So you want to make sure that you definitely have that. If this has helped you, share it. Definitely tag someone who has been talking about real estate investing. Share the group with them. Make sure they join us so they can get educated and get all the information they need and resources as well. Okay. And if I don't see any questions in the comments, I'm just going to say you guys can go ahead and type in the comments. What are you guys going to type in the comments? Invest. How about we type invest in the comments? If you want the sheets, I'm just going to share that sheet again. And basically, this sheets, you get it for free and you can update the numbers here to say what your yearly income goal is at retirement, how much you want to make at retirement. So if your yearly income goal at retirement is 150,000, you can see how many properties you need to start buying. Okay, so for the year, recommendation for the year would be 5 properties per year, right? You want to make this amount. But also, we're seeing how your equity is increasing, 110,000 per property. And at that point, if you're doing 5 properties a year for 5 years, 50 properties, 50 times this, 50 times 110,000. I wonder what that is. I'm not going to calculate it. But it's in millions, right? It's in millions. So your equity also increases. Anyways, type invest in the comments and Meg is going to get that across to you. If you're on Instagram, type invest in the comments. If you're on Facebook, type invest in the comments. If you're on YouTube, which is interesting, YouTube, I feel like we'll always get the comments later. If you're on YouTube, please type invest in the comments as well, because I'm not even able to actually see the lives on there. And I know because within the group, I know a lot of people didn't get the memo because we didn't announce it as usual. So we're gonna see those comments also rolling within the group, but with the lives on Instagram, it's just probably gonna disappear after this session. So type invest in the comments if you want that resource, and we're gonna call it a night. If you want to join coaching, definitely type invest as well and we'll figure it out from there. If you want to join coaching, if you want to explore coaching, if you want to get the journey started, type invest in the comment. We're just going to send to everyone and then we'll follow up with that conversation. You can follow up with that conversation when we contact you with the resource. on coaching. With this, I believe we have come to the end of the live session tonight. It was nice being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for reconnecting with me because I have not been here for a long time. And it's nice being here. So I'm going to end the live session. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.